It was supposed to be a lighthearted segment, an easy, high-profile guest appearance to boost ratings during sweeps week. Meghan Markle was welcomed onto Live with Kelly and Mark with cheers from the studio audience, cameras flashing, the stage bathed in warm lights. She looked elegant and composed in a crisp cream blouse and tailored slacks, flashing her trademark smile as she embraced Kelly Ripa and offered a handshake to Mark Consuelos. "Welcome, Meghan," Kelly said brightly. "So good to have you with us." "Thank you for having me," Meghan responded graciously. "It's always nice to be here in New York." The opening chatter was typical. Motherhood, wellness, Meghan's advocacy work. She spoke passionately about her recent charitable initiative focused on mental health resources for underserved communities. The crowd responded warmly, nodding along and applauding politely. But then the energy shifted. Kelly, known for her boldness and unwillingness to shy away from controversy, leaned in slightly, tilting her head. "You've said in the past that stepping away from the royal family gave you freedom. But now that you're producing content, doing interviews, releasing documentaries, how do you reconcile that with the desire for privacy?" The air grew still. Meghan's smile faltered only for a split second, but it was enough for the camera to catch it. "I've said before," Meghan began slowly, "that privacy is not about silence, it's about having control over your own story. My husband and I chose to tell our truth, in our way. That's not a contradiction, that's empowerment." Mark Consuelos gave a polite nod, trying to steer the conversation back to safe ground. "In your latest campaign," but Kelly interrupted, her tone edging toward sharp. "But don't you think it's confusing for the public? 1 minute it's, 'Leave us alone,' and the next it's Netflix specials and best-selling memoirs. Some people say that feels calculated." There was a noticeable murmur from the audience. Meghan inhaled sharply, visibly trying to maintain her composure. "I think it's important not to confuse privacy with invisibility," she replied. "And frankly, I don't think women, especially women of color, should have to apologize for telling their stories, just because others are uncomfortable with them." Kelly offered a tight-lipped smile. "That's fair, but when everything's turned into a headline, it's hard not to wonder whether it's more about profit than purpose." Mark's face twitched. He clearly wanted to step in, but it was too late. The temperature in the room had dropped. Meghan's voice took on a sharper tone, her back straightening slightly as she turned to face Kelly more directly. "Are you suggesting I don't care about the causes I fight for?" Meghan asked, her words measured, but laced with heat. "That because my story gained visibility, I'm somehow exploiting it?" Kelly didn't blink. "I'm just saying, some people see a pattern. The interviews, the docuseries, the brand partnerships. It starts to feel like victimhood turned into a business." The gasp from the audience was audible. Mark let out a short, nervous laugh, holding up a hand. All right, maybe we're getting a little too deep for breakfast television." "No," Meghan said firmly, cutting him off. "Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how women are constantly told to be silent and grateful. Let's talk about how, when we finally speak up about what we've endured, we're called manipulative, opportunistic, dramatic." Kelly crossed her arms, her voice cold now. "Nobody's silencing you, Meghan. You're literally sitting on a national platform right now. And yet I'm being grilled for using that platform," Meghan fired back. "For telling my story. What exactly do you want from me, Kelly? To sit here, smile politely, and stay in the box you think I belong in?" The tension was unbearable. The camera panned briefly to the stunned audience, some staring with wide eyes, others whispering to one another. Meghan pulled off her mic, stood, and said evenly, "I came here to talk about a cause I care deeply about. Not to be ambushed by outdated assumptions and media soundbites." With that, she turned and walked off stage. Kelly blinked in disbelief, while Mark sat frozen, unsure of what to say. A producer's voice crackled faintly through an earpiece, urging them to go to commercial. "We'll be right back," Kelly said with forced calm, before the screen cut to a whirl of music and ads, leaving millions of viewers in complete shock. As the screen faded to commercial, the studio buzzed with stunned whispers. Meghan Markle had just walked off live with Kelly and Mark, on live television. Producers scrambled behind the scenes, frantically checking the feeds, queuing up backup segments, and making urgent calls to network executives. Meanwhile, Meghan's team was already halfway out the door, her publicist issuing sharp instructions to the staff about rights, footage, and legal follow-ups. Kelly Ripa returned to her seat after the break, now alone. Her expression was tight, lips pursed as she addressed the camera. "Well, "Things got a bit more intense than we anticipated," she said with a half smile that barely masked her irritation. "We appreciate Meghan for joining us today, and we'll just say, live TV is always unpredictable." Mark Consuelos remained backstage, reportedly trying to de-escalate the situation. A source later claimed he approached Meghan and her team with an apology, saying, "We didn't expect it to go that far," but Meghan wasn't interested in smoothing things over. She left the studio without another word. What followed was a media storm unlike anything daytime television had seen in years. Within an hour, audience members who had recorded the moment on their phones began uploading clips online. Unfiltered footage of the fiery exchange hit X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, igniting instant outrage and debate. By noon, hashtags like hashtag Kelly vs Meghan, hashtag Royal Walk Off, and hashtag Live TV Disaster were trending globally. On one side, Meghan's supporters praised her for standing her ground. "This is what boundaries look like," one viral post read. "She's not here for toxic media tactics anymore." Others defended her with passion. "The woman was baited. You don't invite someone to talk about mental health and then turn the interview into an ambush." On the other side, critics labeled her response as thin-skinned and overly dramatic. "It's a talk show, not a royal parade," one user commented. "She could have answered like an adult instead of storming off." Some conservative commentators and tabloids seized on the moment to further accuse Meghan of playing the victim, claiming her entire brand was built on grievance and spotlight. The backlash toward Kelly Ripa wasn't any gentler. While some applauded her for asking the tough questions, others accused her of badgering, even bullying. A former producer from Live anonymously told Variety, "Kelly has always been sharp, but this crossed a line. There's a difference between journalism and antagonism, and this felt personal." That evening, Meghan released a short statement through her Archwell platform. "Greater than, every individual deserves to be spoken to with respect, regardless of who they are or where they come from. I will always advocate for the right to control my story, especially when that story has been twisted, misrepresented, or weaponized. Today was a reminder of why those boundaries matter. I stand by my truth." Her post was shared hundreds of thousands of times in minutes. High-profile allies like Serena Williams, Mindy Kaling, and Jamila Jamil publicly supported her, calling the interview a trap, and yet another example of why women in the public eye are exhausted. Kelly, for her part, posted later that night on her personal Instagram story. "Greater than, if you come on live TV, you should expect honest questions. That's the job." Woman shrugging. The shrug emoji at the end set off another wave of criticism. ABC, the network behind Live with Kelly and Mark, issued a carefully worded statement the next morning. "Greater than, we regret the segment on Wednesday's broadcast did not go as planned. We have great respect for all of our guests and strive to maintain thoughtful, balanced dialogue. We wish Ms. Markle the best." Behind the scenes, damage control was underway. Insiders revealed that Meghan had cancelled appearances on 2 upcoming talk shows, citing the incident and concern for how her voice might again be framed or misused for ratings. Meanwhile, Kelly and Mark's production team were allegedly briefed in emergency meetings about guest relations and on-air conduct. But it didn't stop the headlines. The incident dominated entertainment news cycles for days. Pundits speculated whether Meghan's appearance had been a one-off misstep or the beginning of a larger media rift. Morning shows began dissecting the clash moment by moment, with body language experts, royal correspondents, and celebrity publicists all weighing in. In just 24 hours, a promotional guest segment meant to highlight a mental health initiative had exploded into a cultural flashpoint about power, media ethics, and who gets to control the narrative in an age of instant virality. And though the lights had dimmed in the studio, the firestorm outside showed no signs of fading.